Assalamualaikum, dear students. Today we will take up our lesson, the rat trap. This is the fourth lesson of our English book. It has been written by Selma uh, Lagela. Selma Lagela. It is because he's a Swedish writer who was born in 1858 and who died in 1940. And so it is a bit difficult for us to pronounce his name. It is just pronounced as Selma Lagela. There is a universal theme that runs through his all stories, and that is that he has the belief that essential goodness can be inculcated through understanding and love. That is the important thing. That is the only theme that runs through his all the stories. So let's start it. The rat trap, rather. The rat trap. Trap used as the image given on the top of the pages. You can understand that we to catch the rats. We have a device that's made of wires, and there we put inside a hook on, and that hook we place some food and so that it can entice the rats inside, and it closes in on it, means it shuts, and the rat is caught. And so the rat trap is the title of this story written by Salma Lagela. Let's start. During the course of reading, I will just make, there are difficult words. We will try to give their meaning, their synonyms. You have to go through your book, open your books as well. Let's start. Once upon a time, there was a man who went around selling small rat trap of wire. There was a man who was just going around his area, and he was selling rat trap made of wire. He made them himself at odd moments, many difficult times. He might have gone through difficult odd times, rainy days, you can call them. Those times from the material he got by begging in the stores or at the big farms. Because he was a poor man, he would go for begging, and he got, instead of currency or in kind, he would get the material from some big stores or at the bigger farmlands. There he would go and he would get some material by begging. Then he had made that material, he has converted into the rat traps. He had made the rat traps from that material. But even so, the business was not especially profitable. That was not profitable. That would not fetch him the enough profit. That was not profitable, this business of rat traps. So he had to resort to both begging and petty thievery to keep body and soul together. That's why he would resort to both two jobs together. One is begging, and the meanwhile he would do petty thievery, small. He would steal the small things to keep both ends, to keep body and soul together, to keep both ends meet, means to somehow manage to live. And so, his clothes were in rags. Rags means torn. His cheeks were sunken. Why sunken? And hunger gleamed in his eyes because of the starvation, because of the poverty, because of the hunger. His eyes were gleaming, shining, and the cheeks were sunken, and this shows his poverty. Next para. No one can imagine how sad and monotonous life can appear to such a vagabond who plods along the road, left to his own meditation. Now it is a thing of imagination. How we can imagine how monotonous means how dull or lacking the variety his life would be to appear such a vagabond. Vagabond means a person who wanders from place to place. He was a vagabond. He was moving from place to place, wandering from place to place, who plods along the road, who would walk doggedly or slowly with heavy steps. That means to plod, being poor, going from place to place all the time. He would walk here and left to his own meditations, and he would be absorbed in his own thinkings, in his own thoughts, and in his own serious meditations, what we call it, the thinking thoughts. He would be absorbed all the time. So now we can imagine how dull his life would be, how sad his life would be, because he being all the time walking here and there, going place to place and with heavy hands. So we can imagine it. But one day this man had fallen into a line of thought, means a thought appeared to him, came to him. What was that? Which really seemed to him entertaining. This thought was a bit entertaining to him. This gave a bit entertainment or joy to him, or happiness to him. He had naturally been thinking of his rat traps when suddenly he was struck by the idea that the whole world, he had naturally been thinking of his rat traps, because that was his main occupation. That was his only occupation that would fetch him some money, and he would some currency. He was thinking about that rat traps, but suddenly some idea struck him, that the whole world about him, what that idea was about the world, whole world about him, around him, and the whole world with its hands, sorry, with its lands and seas, its cities and villages, was nothing but a big rat trap. This appeared to him. This idea came to him. This means this the whole world appears to him be just like a rat trap, with this lands, with seas and cities and all villages. This appeared to him. This is a just like it. Means he likened his rat traps to the world, or world to the rat traps. And the rat trap entices, having some baits, and to entice and to tempt the animals, or the rats towards it. And similar, this world, as is said in the next line, it had never existed for any other purpose than to set baits for people. It means the world had never existed. It is only come into being for none other than this purpose, that it sets the baits. Baits means to place the food. It place the food before in the hook, on a hook or in a net, to trap the animals or persons. Just this world is a rat trap, and it sets the baits for people, means entices people by offering something. What it offered? It offered riches and joys. Riches means wealth. This is a type of a bait on offered by the world to human beings. Enjoys happiness, pleasure, shelter, food, heat, and clothing. These are different baits that it offers to the people. As we exactly as the rat trap offered cheese and pork. In European countries, people would hang piece of cheese or pork, the meat of this swine. They would hang it on the hook as a bait. But here we use cheese, we use bones or any other thing, or meat, some piece of meat there, here. And as soon as animal let himself to be tempted to touch the bait, anybody who is ready to being tempted, enticed, being enticed to touch that bait, it closed in on him. It means this world, this trap closes in on me, comes near to him, or shuts. Means he's caught in the rat trap, and then everything came to an end for him. The everything comes to an end, as a rat is caught, and it is destined to be killed. And similarly, human being is caught inside in these in this rat trap of the world, means he is doomed to death. he's doomed. The world had, of course, never been very kind to him. Means this world has never been kind and to him, means to human beings. So it gave him unwanted joy, unusual. Unwanted means unusual joy, unaccustomed joy. It gave us to the human beings are not accustomed to such a joy, or they are not. This is something unusual to think. To think ill of it in this way, that's how they think ill of this way, because it's unaccustomed joy offered by the world to him. It became a cherished pastime of his. It became a cherished means that is very dear, hold something dear, cherished. Pastime means hobby. It became a cherished means very entertaining, very happy, very dear hobby of his during many dreary ploddings. It means to think about all these things. It became a cherished pastime of this man, a rat, who makes the rat traps, who sells the rat traps for him during many dreary ploddings. Many dreary means depressingly dull or bleak. Dreary, depressing, dull or bleak ploddings. His walks when he's walking with heavy foot, slowly heavy steps when he's walking during these means trips, when he's going from place to place. And at that time this becomes a very cherished pastime for him to think about the world, to think of people he knew who had let themselves be caught in the dangerous snare means trap. Means during these walks, during these dreary and these depressing, they are dull, bleak walks, when he's walking from place to place, he would get just think about these people who are being caught by in this dangerous trap, how and why, and he is always thinking about them, and of others who were still circling around the bed. And he is also thinking of those people who are just circling around the bed, and who want us to, who are tempted by the bed and who want to go inside and get caught. He is also thinking about other people how they get are thinking about their luxuries, about their food, about their riches and all the time. But actually this is nothing but the bed that hung inside the trap. The world is itself a big trap, and once you get tempted and you come inside and you got caught. And he is all the time when he's walking all alone and meditating, absorbed in his thoughts, he would think about the people who have been caught, or who are still circling around the bed and or going to be caught. One dark evening, as he was trudging along the road, he caught sight of a little grey cottage by the roadside, and he knocked on the door to ask shelter for the night. One dark evening, it was the evening was dark. He was walking, he was tramping as he was trudging along the road. He was trudge along, to walk onwards with heavy steps. He was trudging along the roads. He was trudging along the roads, and at that roadside, and he was caught in the he caught the sight of a little grey cottage that was of grey color, roadside. And he knocked on the door. Means he saw a cottage there, a small hut there, and he knocked on the door to ask shelter for the night. uh, Nor was he refused. I mean, he was not refused, he was welcomed. Instead of the sore faces which originally met him, nor was he refused. Means he was not refused. He was given the shelter. He was welcomed instead of the sore faces which ordinarily met him. He would meet the faces all the time. They were sore. They were bitter. They always unwelcomed him. But instead of that, here is the different story. The owner, who was an old man without wife or child, was happy to get someone to talk to in his loneliness. But this time he met here, the owner of this cottage was a old man. He was happy. He was without wife and without child, and but he happy to get someone to talk to in the loneliness, means to share his loneliness. He would talk to somebody, so he welcomed this man, this trap seller. Immediately he put the porridge pot on the fire. Porridge is a soft food, or what you call the breakfast. He prepared in some pot and he put that on fire to prepare the breakfast, and gave him supper, means gave him meals, gave him some food to eat. Then he carved off such a big slice from his tobacco roll. He was having a tobacco roll. He cut a slice, a piece of it, carved off, means cut off a big slice, that it was enough both for the stranger's pipe and his own. Means both of them could just use this slice. This was a bigger slice. Both can use this, and both can just smoke it. Finally, he got out an old pack of cards and played majolis, yeah, mulis. It is pronounced as majolis or mulis, with his guest until bedtime. Finally, he took out a card, and then they played a game that is called the majolis or mulis with his guest until bedtime. The old man was just as generous with his confidence. He was generous. Generous means one who is showing the readiness